If you had asked me years ago what getting old would feel like, I would have spoken of wisdom, of watching the children blossom, of lingering afternoons in a sunlit garden, a well-earned peace after a life of challenges and triumphs. I would have imagined solitude, yes, but not this haunting silence that wraps itself around the hours. I would not have believed I'd wake up one day, my reflection blurred in that old mirror above the dresser, and not know whether the person staring back carried all those memories, or if I was only carrying the echo of them. Morning begins the same way, every day, the routine as rigid as the linoleum beneath my slippers. The ceiling flickers with stripes of pale light, and beyond the glass, the world busies itself without me. At first, I tried to keep my old habits. I rose early, washed my face with the same slow movements I always had, carefully combed what's left of my hair, dressing with the same deliberation my mother taught me as a child. This, I thought, would keep me myself. But in these walls, even the smallest personal rituals are whittled away by other people's schedules, meals at set times, lights out at 9, medications lined up like obedient soldiers. The comfort of ritual, I have learned, is only a comfort when it's chosen. There's an emptiness here that isn't from lack of bodies. The staff bustle through the hallways, friendly faces and quick glances, always moving towards someone else who needs help, just a bit more urgently. The residents also walk these corridors, some with canes, some in wheelchairs, others guided gently by a nurse's hand. We gather in the dining room like ships docking in a familiar harbor, our courses parallel but never truly converging. We share a table, but not a history. We repeat ourselves, names, stories, ailments, until we are as much strangers as we were on our very first day. It's a peculiar thing, loneliness in a crowd. In the past, loneliness meant being alone, a quiet house, the absence of laughter. Here, it is the inability to touch anyone's life in a meaningful way. The conversations hover over the trivial, the flavor of the soup, whether yesterday's bingo game was fair, the weather as seen through frosted windows. No one asks about the aches that live deeper down, the invisible bruises that only years can bring. When you do try, the words come out brittle and thin, glancing off the careful armor everyone wears. Some days, a simple hello is met with a blank stare. The effects of memories retreat, and I'm left holding my greeting like an unopened letter. I didn't want my family to worry. I made this decision for them, to release them from the burden I imagined I would become. How little I understood the bargain I was making. In their voices over the phone, I still hear the bright sparks of love, but it's muffled by static and distance. Their lives continue, urgent, demanding, filled with their own joys and setbacks. I listen as my granddaughter tells me about her science project, and my son mentions a new account he's landed at work. At first, visits were a flurry of excitement, flowers, books, awkward hugs in the visitors' lounge. But gradually, the world outside my window grew louder for them, and the world inside my walls grew quieter for me. I began rationing stories during their visits, afraid of overwhelming or boring them. Stories of my own childhood, of mistakes I made, of lessons learned, all the things I had saved up for when there was time. But time, it turns out, slips away faster than you think. Now, I keep a notebook in my drawer, writing letters I may never send, confessions and small wonders, things I want someone to remember if they care to look. Some nights, when the clock's hands drag slowly across 2 and 3 a.m., I wonder if all the stories I've carried will simply dissolve when I am gone. Life here is constructed for safety above all else. There is logic to it, I suppose. A misplaced sock can lead to a fall. A forgotten pill can spell disaster. I appreciate the concern, the professionalism. Yet there is a fine line between care and captivity. When permission is needed for the simplest outings, when choices are whittled down to what fits inside this small room, dignity fades. Once, I used to leave a lamp burning late to read in bed. Here, I am asked to turn it off, promptly. Electrical safety policy, they say. There are worse indignities, I know, but these tiny daily reminders accumulate, remind you that your time of deciding, of commanding your own destiny, is over. It's a lesson in humility, and sometimes a lesson in frustration. Every so often, I hear laughter from the staff lounge, the kind of laughter that reverberates with youth, with the promise of more to come. It stings, not because I envy their age, but because it reminds me of when I felt history blossoming around me, when every day was a new page rather than a repetition. It's easy to feel invisible here, as though you have faded into the background, reliable and quiet, only making a dent in the world when something goes wrong. A complaint, a medical emergency, a misplaced meal. And so I look for meaning in small places. I feed birds outside my window with bits of bread snuck from breakfast. I listen closely when the volunteers play old songs on the piano, closing my eyes and letting the music bring back faces and places I once knew. Sometimes I see a nurse's tired eyes fill with understanding, just for a moment, and it feels like being seen, if only in passing. I hold on to these moments the way one might save slivers of chocolate for a rainy day, proof that sweetness is still possible. What I long for most is simple, to matter, to be needed, not just cared for, to share the wisdom in my wrinkles and the hope in my stories, to hold a grandchild's hand and see curiosity bloom in their eyes. We are not finished, those of us who live in places like these. We are not just statistics or names in a ledger. We are chapters still worth reading, songs still worth singing, advice still worth heeding. Aging should not be a quiet exit, but a legacy passed on, each lesson echoing in the hearts of those who listen. I hope someday someone will understand, that they'll visit an old friend or a distant relative and ask about first loves and childhood heroes, about the moments that shaped us and the ways we learned to endure. I hope the world remembers that behind every pale green wall, every scheduled meal, is a story not yet finished, a person waiting, hoping to be seen. For now, I hold on to that hope, determined, even with trembling hands, to keep writing the last, important lines of my life's story. I am just one voice, drifting through this quiet space, but perhaps my words can reach beyond these walls. Perhaps they might reach you, wherever you are in this moment, full of uncertainty, with your heart tugged between what seems safe and what feels right. There is no roadmap for these choices, no handbook for love when age draws lines deeper than the ones on our faces, only the ache of wanting to do what's best and the fear of getting it wrong. If you are that son, weighing options late at night, running calculations in your mind, costs, risks, logistics, and pushing out thoughts of childhood breakfasts at the kitchen table, I see you. Listen gently before you make plans. Your father's silences are not emptiness. They are filled with memory, pride, and hope. Ask him what matters most now, not just what he needs, but what he lives for. Let him speak of the tree he planted outside, or the old chair that holds the shape of his body. Don't bury him in safety if it means unearthing loneliness from deep within the bones. If you are that mother, feeling the world slip from your hands, worrying you'll become a burden to the daughter who once clung to your skirts, understand that your presence is not trouble. It is history. It is warmth. Any changes you consider, new homes, new walls, must come from honest talk, not from silent sacrifice. Fear is a cruel companion when decisions loom. Don't make choices in the absence of hope. Let your wishes be heard, and let love, not guilt, set the course. To the caregiver drowning in conflicting emotions, remember that exhaustion is not failure. You are not selfish for wanting relief, nor are you unloving for admitting your limits. Still, I ask, pause to ask the one you care for, not just how to help, but how to honor. Sometimes it is not the schedule or the system that matters, but the small joys that persist within the everyday, the scent of toast, the rustle of pages, the sunlight on old photographs. And to my fellow elders, those standing at the threshold, feeling invisible in a world that races past, please know your worth is not measured in abilities lost, but in the fullness of your days. Demand the right to shape your ending as fiercely as you shaped your beginning. Hold on to your stories as if they were heirlooms. Insist on sharing them with those who will listen. The firelight in your eyes is not yet extinguished by age, only kindled by every joy and sorrow you have survived. Life, in its closing chapters, is not a giving up, but a gathering in. Harvest every memory, every laughter echoing in the night. Be stubborn in your comforts. Keep your favorite mug, your lullabies, your evening strolls. Surround yourself not with routines that smother, but with rhythms that sustain. Claim your dignity. Refuse to be reduced to a list of medications or dietary notes. You are still someone's beloved, someone's storyteller, someone's home. So if my words find shelter in your heart, carry them with you. Age, in all its quiet heroism, is the last act, meant to be lived, not endured. Let no bureaucracy or good intention steal the brilliant sweetness of your autumn. Insist always that this life, your precious, wild, beautiful life, remains fiercely, unmistakably yours.